And now at this time, we are going to introduce ourselves.
My name is Nathan Thompson. I know some of you have joined us before, but I have been in the early education field for 25 years, with different roles. I'm a language and literacy facilitator for Rollins, instructional facilitator. And my core values are family, connection, and authenticity.
Okay, so I am Jennifer Jones. I am also a language and literacy instructional facilitator with Rollins Center. And my core values are also family, integrity, and discipline. And I've got a little over 16 years in early childhood education as a teacher, a coach, a mentor, a trainer, and right now as a facilitator. So now we're going to jump into the Cox Campus Way, where we're going to share our core values. So we have 5 core values: rewarding, empowering, connecting, safe, and essential. And so our hope is for all Cox Campus members to become their best selves through various experiences offered on our website. We want everyone to know that you and your work are valued at Cox Campus. Cox Campus is a shared space where all educators from different walks of life can come together to learn and grow. It's also a safe space where you can feel welcomed and accepted and get those answers that you need to deepen your understanding and take your teaching practices to the next level. And lastly, Cox Campus will always deliver current research and appropriate methods and practices that you can learn and apply right away. And we encourage you, as always, to keep coming back over and over again. So if there's anyone on our webinar today that's new to Cox Campus, we encourage you to sign up. It takes only a quick minute or two to sign up. Everything is free. Our website is www.coxcampus.org.
Let's look at our objectives for today. Just take a minute to look over this. We're going to review our 9 essential elements of an ecosystem, as always. We will reflect on element 8, which we went over last month, and review that, which was those supports for dual language learners. Then we're going to get into element 9, which is our last element. So this is our last month for this cohort. And we're going to discuss the look-fors, examples, rating criteria, look at some videos, and practice rating classrooms. And we're going to also talk about setting goals and writing action steps and leave you with some next steps. All right, we always like to set our norms. We talked about our individual values and the values of the organization, but these are just kind of norms that kind of go with those values, the norms for this meeting, for this group. We want to commit to be open-minded and flexible to change. Step up to be a part of the conversation, and also step back to allow others to be a part of the conversation. Be present. We're going to respect the opinions and communication styles of each other. Going to listen to understand, and also commit to pause and reflect throughout. Our purpose of this group, of this cohort, is to provide support for strengthening language-centered ecosystems at a larger scale so that all children have an opportunity to be a part of an effective ecosystem that is established in all 9 essential elements. So that's our goal, to build community among a diverse group of individuals working towards positive relationships and progress in child outcomes and language and literacy development. Thank you all for joining us for this purpose today.
All right, so we are now going to go over our 9 ecosystem elements. And so you'll notice that they are broken into 3 clusters. And so those 3 clusters, are climate clusters, content clusters, and connection clusters. And so climate clusters include elements that focus on the environment, with practices that support children's socio-emotional needs for their learning. Children of all ages must feel safe in order to learn and thrive. So safe in every way to express themselves and to accept themselves. Element 1, which is safe and responsive climate, this element practices focus on supporting language learning use in the context of trusting and nurturing relationships where children feel safe to learn and engage with adults and peers. Element 2, which is culturally responsive and preserving environments. These are practices that promote respect for all children and promotes diversity to know that children are valued, where they all are seen and represented in the classroom and included, and also children learn to value others and appreciate others' differences. Element 3 is consistent routines, rituals, and transitions. So these are practices that support children's socio-emotional development and preparedness to learn through consistency and predictability throughout the day. This element also supports children's emotional safety and their independence. The second cluster is content cluster. So these elements are all about the practices and strategies that we have that intentionally focus on promoting and developing language and literacy foundational skills. So this one, element 4, children as conversational partners, this one focuses on practices that support language use for communication, the development of their oral language, development of vocabulary and comprehension. And it also promotes critical thinking in conversations and through storybook read-alouds. Element 5, integrated planning and teaching around an anchor book. These are practices that create opportunities for children to extend their learning, to hear and practice vocabulary, and deepen their comprehension of concepts through storybooks and throughout the instructional day. Element 6, which is an element that we are redeveloping and updating at the current moment, is focus on emergent literacy. So we are in the process of adjusting phonological awareness focus to phonemic awareness focus. And so you will see some changes and some updates on Cox Campus to reflect those changes around element 6. And the very last cluster is connections cluster. So these are practices focused on connections with individual children to assess their progress, with dual language learners to support their learning and participation, and with families to extend learning beyond the classroom and into the home. So element 7, which is observation, progress monitoring. So this focuses on practices that allow us to know how children are progressing and how we can benefit from their progress and to enhance the learning experiences where we have to make some adjustments, refine some of our teaching, and be more effective in addressing their learning needs. Element 8, intentional supports for dual language learners. This one has practices that allow all the elements to come to life for the children who are developing in more than one language and or their learning experiences to be equitable for them at the same time. And our very last element, which is the focus for today, is strong partnerships with families. So this one has practices that ensure that learning continues beyond the immediate classroom and that families are also active co-constructors of the ecosystem. And so their voice matters as well. So we'll talk about how you can adjust or incorporate new ways to really push through element 9 at your respective sites.
All right, I'm excited to get into family partnerships with families today. So here are our expectations. On the next slide, we'll go over expectations for this cohort. Each month, we have gone over one essential element. This will be the last month. We go over why each element is important, what each element looks like, what we're looking for, how to observe, do those observations, and rate each element, and then come up with action steps for improvement so that we are established in all elements of the ecosystem approach.
Okay, so we are at the point where it's time for us to take a quick pause and do some reflection. So as Nathan mentioned earlier, we will take some time and review element 8, which was our previous element, where we have intentional supports around dual language learners. And so there are some questions that you'll see on our next slide. Okay, and we also dropped it in the chat, so be mindful of that as well. But on this slide here, you'll see there are 2 questions that we want you all to explore and kind of discuss as a group. So the questions are, what are teachers doing to make instruction more meaningful and accessible for dual language learners? So that was something that we wanted you all to take some time and really do some uh, informal observations in your classrooms and see what your teachers are doing to ensure that children that are dual language learners, what are some meaningful ways and accessible ways that teachers are connecting with those children? Also, how are teachers encouraging children and families to use their first language and reassuring them it's a wonderful gift that that they can give to their children? So if we want to take those 2 questions and discuss that with your groups. So we will be putting everyone in a group. It's a small group of us today, but I think we can go ahead and do it still, because I want you all to have a chance to talk about these things with your teams.
Shall we do 2 groups of 4, you think?
Yeah, and I know that Miss Nicole, they're a large group over there too, so they may be
Oh,
a little bigger if possible. You guys can tell us how you want to be kind of broken off. Miss Nicole, would you maybe share with us in the chat if you would like to be in a group with others, or you want to just kind of stick with your own group, and then we can put everyone else in another group? Let us know. We want to make sure that this is meaningful for you all. Welcome back. So I'm glad and everybody had a chance to break out and do some reflection. It's always good to kind of talk about the work and share our experiences with the work. This is the place where you can, talk about your wins, talk about, things that are still maybe a little challenging, but also sharing great ideas with each other. So I just want to share just briefly some of the things that went on in my group. So we did have a home visitor, we had a teacher, we had I think we had other teachers as well, but everyone had some experience to share. And so a lot of work is being done. A lot of Spanish speaking is the main language that I'm hearing from the people that were in my group. And so there are some things that are, in the making. Some books are being shared. Conversations with families are being had. Um, and also Miss Charlotte was able to share an experience from another partner that she has with WIDA. And so she did explain that there was a task given to her and the people that attended where they would survey the children on their language experiences based on a drawing. So having children draw some neighborhood or community places, and then also talk about what languages are used when they visit those places. And so with that information, she was able to apply it to her classroom. So she's incorporated some Spanish books, and also they have some access to some additional readings that are available to the kids through July of 2025. So what about you, Nathan? Anything you want to share from your group?
I was gonna ask my group if they wanted to share out. We had a good conversation
Okay, great.
with Nicole or Morgan, Jenny, Amber, Sarah, Jill, Katie. You guys want to share out what we talked about?
Should we all talk over each other?
Sure. No.
Go ahead, Amber.
We just talked about one thing that we've incorporated was the language survey and how that has really helped us. What the parents want us to incorporate into the classrooms. So example is one of the parents put that they would like us to incorporate that, so that specific classroom did incorporate it. We've had other parents say that they prefer us not to, in that we only speak English. And so then it's like, how do we still kind of incorporate it, but respect the parents, that we're not trying to say their language and pronouncing it incorrectly and things like that. But we can put like pictures up maybe in their, like on a chair, or the dramatic play area with their, the way that they spell it.
We talked a little bit about just when it is a language you don't know how to maybe enunciate or pronounce a name, really taking that time to learn it. I think most parents, I know if I had a child whose name was hard to pronounce, I would appreciate a teacher, a director, someone coming to me, even if it's multiple times over and over again. I'm sorry, can you say it once? We've asked several parents, can you write it down like phonetically, not like exactly in the spelling, but just so that it can help us pronounce it as well.
Great, great. That sounds good. That's very good.
Good conversations. And one of the challenges that that they just mentioned and that we talked about was that, I'll go back to it, but and I've run into this with partners, so it's interesting. When a family member or parent says, I don't want you to speak Spanish, even though we speak that at home. I want them to learn English in different ways. We were kind of just playing around with different ways we can welcome that. And they're already doing the surveys, which kind of is getting to know about culture. So if you do it in the same light and bring in that that's a gift and your children have a gift, but it does take a learning process sometimes to educate families on that and being respectful of what they're saying. Like what is the real message here? They're concerned that their child's not going to learn English. So reassuring that they will learn English. For one, we're surrounded by it. They're going to pick it up, but we're also going to speak English. We're just going to provide supports through the first language and have some, we do both, and they can learn both because they're learning one at home and definitely surrounded by English at school with those supports. And children light up when you say there's something in their language and they're like, oh my gosh, because it's like, mommy says that word, daddy says that word. It's like something inside them feels like, wow, my family is welcome here. So there's a lot that's involved with that than just learning the language. So yeah, it was a good conversation. Thank you. Thank you, Lunch and Learn. I enjoy going to your Lunch and Learn, even though I didn't have my lunch with me.
Good. Thanks, everybody. Right. Okay, so we will keep it moving, and the slide you see here is our ecosystem construction measure. And so this is an implementation guide. It's a tool that we use. We also dropped it in the chat. So if you notice from previous cohort sessions, the link has changed. And so there is a new link, but it's the same material. And so we just updated it because there are some changes that we are undergoing with our updated website. And so this particular tool is just a measure that you use to assist your educators, the director, the education managers, anybody who is able to make decisions for the site. This tool will be very helpful and useful to you because it does give you a description on all of our elements and also a rating scale on how you can rate your classrooms when you use this guide. Okay, and so with this one here, this document is our closer look at the essential elements document, and it's a companion to the ECM 2.0. So it also describes all 9 elements in detail. It includes some examples, video samples, opportunities for you to further your learning and your practice. And we do want to make a note that element 6 is under construction with this document. So there are going to be some changes that we make to element 6 as it relates to emergent literacy. So, but we will continue using this document in the rest of this session because element 9, which is our focus today, nothing has changed from that information. Okay, so Nathan is going to go ahead and share some information about element 9.
All right, so this is one of my favorite elements. They're all important, but this is one of my favorites. Strong partnerships with families. So let's look at what we're looking for. All right, what is this element. What are strong, what are we looking for? What is it? All families care about their children. And just like teachers, they want to support their learning. So in this element, we're examining how sites position families as partners, an endeavor to build trusting relationships with them and provide multiple opportunities to engage in and participate in their children's language and literacy development. So strong family and teacher partnerships they incorporate that communication, that respect for one another, celebration of differences, including culture and language, commitment, that trust, and shared power and responsibilities. That word trust really stands out to me. I think with all of this, it helps to build trust. Families are active collaborators, and they play such a critical role in their children's learning. So we're going to look for those opportunities for engagement that are driven by families' needs and desires. So not only families aren't a side note, they're just a partner in this learning and development for their children. Let's look at the next slide. So why does this matter? Families are children's first teachers, and they're their most consistent teachers in their life. They are key partners in their development. So from the start, young children's language and literacy are nurtured in the home. That oral language starts early through those interactions with meaningful adults in their lives, their parents, their grandparents, older siblings, and other family members. So all families teach their children many things like interests, skills, values, traditions, chores, activities. All these lessons contribute to a child's learning and development. Research demonstrates that family support for language and literacy activities at school and at home positively impacts children's outcomes in these areas. When families and teachers are strong partners, young children make significant gains in their language and their vocabulary, those concept development, early literacy, and all learning, really. So this paves the way for the development of solid reading and writing skills and to a life filled with voice, self-determination, and personal empowerment. So it's really important, guys. All right, let's take a look at an example of a positive interaction with this adult and child.
Let me introduce you to Logan and two very important people in her life, her mother, Tasha, and her teacher, Ari. Tasha has just arrived to drop Logan off. Watch carefully as this interaction unfolds.
Good morning, Logan. How are you doing today? Oh, look at that smile. Logan is feeling great this morning. How was your ride to school? Wonderful, Logan. Logan had a good ride to school this morning.
She doesn't talk yet. Miss Ari, what are you?
Of course she's talking, Miss Tasha. Did you notice her facial expression when I was asking her how she was doing this morning? Her eyes just lit up.
I guess, Miss Ari.
Yes, Miss Tasha, when you're having conversations with Logan and you just watch her facial expressions, yes. And she lets you know. Would you like to demonstrate?
Okay, Logan, Mommy is getting ready to go. I see you later.
Isn't that wonderful?
You gonna give me a hug?
So, of course.
Mommy's baby.
So have a wonderful day, Mom.
Okay then, Miss
Very
Ari.
good. All right, have a good day, Miss Tasha. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thank you.
I love this video. What did you all notice about that interaction with the child and with the family member?
Well, to me, the child appeared to be in a risk-free, fun, and safe environment. She was using her eyes, but she seemed very acceptable to both adults, and she looked quite comfortable to me.
Thank you, Charlotte. I like how the teacher took that opportunity to kind of educate the mom. I like it. I imagine that this was somewhat staged. They had a script explained through her actions. Thank you, Nicole's group. So I think like what's great about this video is they probably planned what they were going to say, but the child did genuinely, obviously, the child's not acting, genuinely responded to what they were doing. So there's some realness going on in there too. And I like how, I do like, it kind of makes me laugh when the parents like, what are you, she don't talk yet, what are you doing? And she took that opportunity to say, well, she reads your facial expression. She knows you're talking to her and that kind of thing. So I just think that's a great little moment. There's so many things we can do with our surveys and getting to know the parents. But those little interactions and moments of opportunities to learn are so great as well.
Yes.
So we have some examples on the screen here of all about me approaches. Some people like to make little books all about the children and their families. These are different boards that are set up. And this is a way for the children to know that their family is important. It's so meaningful when they can see mom or dad, grandma, brothers and sisters, cousins on the board. And Jennifer, I happen to know you have a big family, so I think this would be a really big board for you if you put all your cousins. How many cousins do you have?
It's about 50 of us, first cousins. Yeah. It's a lot going on. Yeah. We
So
probably
big
need a
tree.
tree, 2 trees, 3 trees,
More than one tree.
more than one tree, patch of trees. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to just pause here for a second because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking of different things I've done similar. Who would like to share out what they've done in classrooms they've worked in the past or seen teachers do in classrooms? Yeah, a forest of family trees for Jennifer, for sure. Who has some examples of what they've done or seen done?
I don't know, I can speak from my classroom experience. And so we used to make little individual books. So I would, me and my teacher associate, we put together sheets of paper and kind of staple them, or we make a little binder with them, and children would be able to basically create their own stories, their own family stories. And so we would gather pictures from home, pictures from other family members, and just kind of glue them, tape them, and just have children construct their own, family books where we would have a show and tell when the project was done, and each child had a moment to share their family story in front of the class. That's one of the things that we did.
Oh, that's great. What age was that?
This is pre-K.
Pre-K, yeah.
Pre-K, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Jennifer.
No problem.
My daughter's pre-K class, she's about to graduate high school, but back when she was in pre-K,
Mhm.
They had a bear that everybody got to take home on the weekend. They took turns taking the bear home on the weekend. And when it was their turn, they were to bring back pictures of things they did with the bear. So this is, you got to be kind of equity minded here and think about, like, there's no expectation of what you do. I mean, it could be just go to the park or grocery store, ride in the car, and then you got all these pictures and you're talking about how you rode in the car with the bear. Some kids did go to like Six Flags or to the
Oh, wow.
movies. And I think I ended up taking my daughter to the DeKalb Farmers Market in Atlanta area here. And we looked at the fish and stuff that they had at the market. So it was
That's cool.
a fun little experience. And then they go back and they talk about what they did with the bear.
Nice.
Anybody else want to share out? All right, feel free to put it in the chat if it comes to mind.
Yes.
And I'm gonna pass it over to you, Jennifer.
Okay. So you'll see right here, if you've had a chance to download a copy of the ecosystem construction measure. So in that document on page 20, you will see the rating scale or criteria, I should say, for element 9. And so in this particular chart, you will see some Cox Campus courses that are related to element 9. So these are some good courses that you want to maybe encourage your staff to complete while they work on improving or enhancing element 9 at your site. It also gives you a quick description on what element 9 is, And then there's ways that you want to collect some evidence. It gives you different ways that you can collect evidence to prove that you are working towards or you're fulfilling the criteria for strong partnerships with families. And then as far as like look fors and exemplars, you'll see down below that the closer look at essential elements is mentioned. And so we also dropped that link in the chat. So please take advantage of clicking on these links and downloading a copy. So this will be helpful when you do go and do your observations on element 9. So you'll see down here that it has numbers. And so the numbers are the ratings that you would give each of your classrooms when you are doing your observations. So it goes from 1 to 3, 1 being the lowest number of emerging, and then 3, the highest number as established. And so we do have some midpoints of a 1.5 and a 2.5, which is somewhere in the middle. And so you may have some classrooms that exhibit some things in rating 1, and then some things that reflect element 2. But so you may want to give it a midpoint score of a 1.5, and the same thing for a 2.5. They may be exhibiting some things in element 2, so they're developing, but they also are hitting on some of the things that are established, but they're not quite fully established, because in order to be fully established, you want to be doing all of the items mentioned in this column. So this is just for your reference. So if you want to take a note of this, that way you are prepared when you do your observations, please do so. Okay, and we're going to move on to the next slide. Okay, and so another page that we want you to pay attention to is page 43 in the ecosystem construction measure. And so this is just a snippet of what that page looks like. And so this is the observation form that you would input your notes. So when you go in to do your observations, you're going to use a copy of, and you don't have to, but it is something that we prepared so that you don't have to do any extra work. But you can make a copy of the page 43 and then document things that you're actually seeing, things that you're hearing from the teachers and the children, things that you're seeing on the walls, on the shelves, anything that is considered a look for, or an example of what it mentions in the rating chart. You can document it here, and then also put your rating where it says rating to the left. And so on the next slide, you will see that we have a video that we want you all to practice. So in this cohort, we always try to give you some type of practice prior to you going out and doing this at your actual sites. And so with this video, we want you to keep in mind some of the criteria that was mentioned on the previous slide. And we're going to pull it up again too, but we want you to take a moment to just kind of look through this video here. Pay attention to how the teacher and the parent respond with each other in this video. So this is a meeting held at the school. Okay, and then we'll branch off into breakouts and you guys can discuss what you noticed in that video.
Telma, ¿vos sos como Kimberly me ayuda? Ya la primera como que ya no le atino la puntería de los hoyitos yo. Solo es la primera ya. Ah.
So when he goes though with his grandmother only speaks Spanish.
Exactly.
So what happens there? Does he speak Spanish then to her? Well, there.
He speaks Spanish
Oh.
to her. But when he's with me, it's like he don't want to.
Oh, because he doesn't have to. It's really
Yeah.
true. He knows.
He don't want to.
No.
Oh, when he's talking to his brother, only English.
Okay,
Only
yeah,
English.
that's what happens. So
And he has another cousin. She's small. Actually, she's his age, but she doesn't speak English. She's
Does he do Spanish?
yeah, he does. And he even told me the other day we were reading a book, and he told me, "Mom, you have to read in English and in Spanish because she doesn't understand."
Great. Wonderful.
Okay, I'll do it in English and
Yeah.
Spanish, but you have to help me, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have to. Yeah, he said I had to read in both language because she didn't understand.
shows a Good. Thank you very much.
She's very tall.
Like that. And he's like me. What? That's Moroccan celebrate. We celebrate Moroccan party.
We are celebrating the Moroccan party.
We will.
We don't want to go home.
All right. So in that video, I know that they were using some Spanish language, but what we wanted to gather is that the teacher and the parent were working together. So they were working together to discuss things around the child, the student that was in her class. And so based on what you gathered from this video here, we do have some questions that we want you to consider when you do go to your breakout. We're only going to be in there for a short moment because we don't want to go over our time, but we do want you to rate it as best as you can. We will also share with you the criteria. So when Nathan and I do branch off into the groups, we will have the criteria available for you to reference as you kind of come up with your rating. And just think of some ways to justify your rating. And there's no right or wrongs. We want you to do your best with it. And we do know that there was a little language barrier there at times, and there was definitely some noise. But we do want to keep the focus on that partnership that was shared in the video. So we're going to go ahead and branch off into our same groups that we had earlier, and just be prepared to come back with a rating and explaining why. Okay, so we hope that that was a good time for you all to discuss what you noticed in the video. I know there was a lot going on in that video, but we wanted to show you all a video where parents and teachers collaborate as it pertains to children's learning. Does anybody have any quick comments they want to share before we kind of move into the last end of our session for today? Can you maybe share your rating, drop it in the chat, or for my group, we have a 2. We rated that as a 2. We did see some collaboration with the family's input and also the teacher. And so there was some exchange of information.
We rated it on the higher end of 3. When looking at the ECM, we felt that there was multiple families and that were engaged in an activity that was happening in the classroom, and then there was the welcome at the front of the door in the home languages. And then the mom also talked about how the grandma took her son to the community with a library, which would be a community resource.
Mm-hmm.
So just from those aspects of it, we rated it under established.
We said it's hard. I mean, from those video clips, you can't really see the consistency, and you know that it's happening all the time with all the families. But
true, very true. So thank you for that justification. I'm glad you guys, sounds like y'all went an extra mile and kind of took in the environment as well, which is very important, and that's also a part of the element. And so making sure that things are visible to the children, not only books, but also, displays on the wall. And also you did see the collaboration between other families in the classroom. So it sounds like this was maybe an event for families to come into the classroom and collaborate with the teachers and children. So good. And I'm glad you guys got a practice on how to do some observations. And like you said, with the video clips, it is a little hard to describe the frequency. But when you are doing your live observations, you can rate that a little bit better because you know how often this is occurring in your classrooms at your sites.
I would like to add, since I was in that group, I
Go
think
ahead.
what's interesting here, I don't want to just leave this, the fact that there's a 3 and a 2, right? Like that kind of stands out. We saw the same video.
Mhm.
And a couple of things that they mentioned, like they looked at the environment, but also my group also mentioned how like we don't know if they have a lending library, you know? So this is where I think if we were all the same site or
Correct.
looking at the same classroom and we come together and sit down and somebody says, I rated a 2 and I rated a 3, that's where the conversation starts. So
Right.
we're not going to get into all that and everything and all the details today. We don't really know all the details. However, if you're at that site, maybe we need to go back and observe again. Maybe we need to ask the teacher some questions. Do we
Mhm.
have a lending library? Is this consistent or is this the first time they've done this and it's halfway through the year? So, maybe it is a 2. Maybe we kind of have a discussion and we end up with a 2.5 because
Mhm.
we see each other's perspective and we kind of meet in the middle. So this is not always, it's really not giving you the little snippets of video we give you are just small examples of some positive things that might be going on or some middle of the road things or
Mhm.
just some examples of a snippet of a classroom. But you definitely want to spend more time and have those conversations. So yeah, I just wanted to say I love that it was different because that's part of it.
Yes, thank you, Nathan. Thank you for pointing that out because we do want you all to not only just observe and rate, we want you to have that sit-down conversation with each other. So just how you all came together as a team and talked about, your reasons, your justifications on why this rating is this, we also want you to come to a consensus when you're together. And so if you have, somebody that is really strong about it too, then, we want to consider their justifications. But if we have, majority is saying it's 3, then, just like Nathan said, so definitely take the time to do some reflection on your ratings prior to sharing that information with your teachers. And so while we are doing ratings, we definitely want to, we can go advance, I'm sorry, to the next slide. Yes, so in the ecosystem construction measure, we do have a process that we encourage. And so this process is observe, reflect, and then take action. So like I was saying, you're going to do those observations where you're going to gather all your information, your notes, everything that you see in here that's happening in the classroom. And then you're going to assign a rating to those classrooms that you observe. After you do that, you want to do some reflection. So you're going to go back with those, the people that are responsible for doing those observations. You're going to come together. And then you're going to identify what are the priority areas that we really need to focus on, that we really need to, improve and set some goals around. And so you'll have that conversation with your team of people that are responsible for doing those classroom observations. And then lastly, you want to take action. So this is where, after your team has decided what those priority areas are and what the ratings are, now you're going to have your individual meetings with those classroom teachers. So you'll pull your teachers 1 by 1, 2 by 2, how many ever is in a classroom. And you'll sit down with that teacher and develop an action plan, identifying some concrete action steps and who's responsible for doing what. And so you'll create a plan based around those priority areas or priority elements, another word, so that you can begin the work. Okay, Nicole, I see you have a question, so we have a question when this is over. Okay, okay. So we can just keep moving to the steps. And so this here is some of the action step examples. So when you develop that plan with your teacher, you may have some of the following. So you might have an action step that says staff needs to take, the ecosystem course, or build my brain, or whatever course that she needs to take or he needs to take. That might be an action step. Another one might be to share a Cox Campus resource. So if there's a resource that you found on our website and you want to include that as a step on the action plan, you can do that as well, where the teacher either downloads the resource, prints it out, and reads it and actually uses it and applies it to her classroom. Another one is implement specific teaching practices. So there may be something that you might want to refine. The teacher might be doing something that is already working, but you found a way that it can maybe work even better, more effectively. And so you might want to be more specific about a teaching practice that you want to see happen in the classroom. Another one is developing some common planning time. Sometimes teachers may not have enough time that's, designated just to focus on improving things in their classroom. So maybe they need some quiet time, some downtime, where they can leave the classroom and focus on things that they need to improve on. And then the last one might be where the staff observes another classroom or another colleague while they are doing something well or something's working really well in that classroom. You might assign that teacher to go and shadow another teacher who's doing really well. So this is if you have duplicates of classrooms. So some sites have 2 infant rooms or 2 toddler rooms or 2 pre-K or preschool rooms. And one teacher is doing a little better in a particular area than the other. And so you might want to use some time where that teacher can go and see how Miss So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so is implementing a particular teaching practice in their classroom and it's working well. So these are just some examples that you might want to use when you are developing that action plan.
Thank you all for engaging in those conversations. We had some really good reviews of those elements, and we will make sure we have time for your question at the end, but let's just review our objectives really quick. We had the ecosystem review. We went over those reflections from Element 8, supports for dual language learners, and reviewed that. And then we got into Element 9, those strong partnerships with families. Thank you so much. Next steps, complete or review that ecosystem course if you haven't. Review the ECM 2.0 in a closer look document. We gave you the new links to that. Observe and rate Element 9. So go in and observe in your classroom or classrooms and check for your email for any follow-ups. These are recorded, so you can come back to them or share them. Remember to visit us at Cox Campus for continued support and share out with other leaders. Look forward to some podcasts coming up next year and some new year-long journeys. We may or may not be repeating this one, but we'll have lots of opportunities for learning. We look forward to connecting with you all. And if you made it to more than one of these, thank you for doing that. And thank you all for making it out today.
Yes, thank you.